Welcome back. I hope you're having a fantastic day. We're going to take a look at the markets and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and see what's going on. Markets are down a little bit today. NASDAQ dropped a little over 2%, S&P 1.25%, the Dow Jones 0.8%. And all of the talk around Wall Street today was all about the Fed with the rate hikes, but more importantly, the balance sheet runoff that they're going to have to accelerate. All of the Fed members now are coming out with tougher talk on inflation and having to reduce the balance sheet. Brainerd came out and had some serious comments. Ultimately, the way this is going to work, the economy is going to slow. The stock market has to reflect that, says economist for Moody, Mark Zandi. So what's been happening with the markets after the Fed raised rates was the signal was out that the Fed was going to have to tighten, but there was time before that would happen. So the markets had one last chance to create liquidity and to make some money before the pain starts, and interest rates have to raise, balance sheet has to be reduced, and the economy has to be somewhat slowed down to help taper inflation, because it's just getting worse and worse by the day with COVID popping up in Europe and Asia. China has closed up a lot of operations there and locked down the population. And, Europe is dealing with it, and the United States may have another run, although the variant that's out there now is not as bad as previous variants. It's mild sickness or whatever, but, that is starting to be talked about in the news again. So supply chain issues, inventory levels, food prices, labor costs, everything is skyrocketing, and interest rates are also rising. The 30-year fixed mortgage crossed 5% for the first time since 2018. So we will see the housing market start to soften a little bit. It takes a little bit of time for the housing market to react to interest rate hikes and to changes, but you'll start to see inventory levels rise, and the housing market will start to change. In fact, markets across the country are already seeing inventory levels rise, and mortgage applications are declining and falling off a cliff. So some changes coming there. And these are all the natural order and course of things in the economy, peaks and valleys. Good times never last, bad times never last. So it's all part of the process. Let's take a look at cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and what's going on. Bitcoin's been dancing around here in this range for the last few days. Had a low of 44,000, had a peak of 48,000 here over the last couple of weeks before this little 8% drop here with a bounce, and that low again was 44.2. That's a pretty critical support level right there, because that's the top of that channel that we've been watching, where Bitcoin is finding support on right now. We'll take a look at it on the daily, and we'll make it even clearer and take a look at it with a line chart so you can kind of see the trend a little bit more clear, and the channels that we've been following, this parallel channel that we've been looking at here lately from this point out down to the bottom here, and how Bitcoin is basically bouncing along. Let's pull this down a little bit, the top of this channel here in terms of the top of the daily closes with this new high here and here. And if you bring the channel back down this way like that, it wouldn't be a channel, it'd be more of a wedge. Bitcoin's kind of bouncing on that support line there. So one way to look at it is a channel that is created that Bitcoin's bouncing around in. The other way is the wedge that we've been following. And you can call it what you want, wedge, pennant, flag, whatever, but we have the bottom of that trend right here. And these are the line chart represents closes, and it kind of simplifies things and makes it a little bit more clear. We'll look at a couple of things with a line chart because it takes all of that price action of the candles out of the equation. Somebody asked, why don't I use line charts? Because all I really track are the closings. I like to see price action on the shorter time frames, on the hourly. So the candles are more useful when you're looking at price action on the hourly, whereas for overall trends, I like to use closing prices when I'm looking at support and resistance, because that helps me clarify trends a little better like we're looking at here. And this is where Bitcoin is kind of finding support above this level right here. And if we look at the moving averages and where that falls on the moving averages, just below the 200-day moving average, but we have the 50-day and the 100-day here. And it looks like the 50-day is about to cross up back over the 100-day, which we saw happen right here. And when that happens, the 50 crosses up over the 100-day. We saw a little bit of a rise into that. And then ultimately price dropped a little bit and then continued to rise. But the real critical level to get above is that 200-day moving average. And if we look at this on a weekly time frame, and really the key is to get to stay above this 50-week moving average, where price is kind of testing that 50-week moving average right now. We really need price to stay above that to continue on from there and not get back down below it. And then if we take a look at the Gaussian channel on the weekly, you can see where price is just above that midline of the Gaussian channel right there. And as we know, anytime price breaks below the mid level, it goes down to check the bottom level of the Gaussian channel. And it'll stay below there. So we've looked at that for a while. So right now price is above that mid level. We can take a look at that with the candles as well. And it shows you how price is kind of checking above that mid level of the Gaussian channel. And again, I like these closing timeframes to use a little bit better, and you can kind of see there. So if price can stay above the midline, and let's look at it on the daily as well. So price is above the channel altogether on the daily. And whenever price has been able to break above the channel, it generally goes on for a little bit more continuation before any more downside. And we've seen that over and over a couple of times where price broke above the Gaussian channel. As long as it stays above it, you're in good shape. But if it breaks back down below it, then that can be a problem. So right now, this is the first time on the daily in a while since really when it entered the channel back around the 17th of November. It's been below the channel ever since, and then caught up in it here for the last few weeks. This is February the 6th. Then it busted out a couple of days ago, 25th, 26th of March, and it's kind of onward and upward. So if price can kind of stay above it like it did here, it can continue on until, it could potentially get caught back down in that channel again. So we'll have to kind of keep an eye on that one and see how price shakes out there. But I like to look at the closing and for trends and for ranges and for cycles. So as we know, Bitcoin has been in a bull cycle its entire existence. It's basically, obviously, peaks and valleys, but it's basically been in an upward trajectory for the entire cycle of its life. And right now, it's all about markets, cycles, and ranges. So within the overall bull market, upward trajectory of Bitcoin through its life cycle, it's going to have ranges. And right now, this is a range here that price has been in, and that in the big parallel channel that we've been tracking over the last couple of years, well, over the last year, really going back to, well, December of 2020 going into 2021. So the last couple of years, it's really kind of been in this range here of the overall cycle. And within the range, you have your trends, and you have your uptrends and your downtrends. So this could potentially be the way that Bitcoin kind of carries on for a while. And it's a somewhat rising channel. And if you extrapolate it out and just kind of look at how that goes, that could be something that Bitcoin could be doing for a period of time and working its way up. And ultimately, you see as price gets extended out through the days here, going into the next couple of years, hitting into that $80-something thousand range. And we'll just have to see if price kind of continues that way, or if it ultimately ends up breaking out of here and spiking and going for a higher level in the 100,000 plus range, or if it kind of stays within a channel, something like this, and kind of creeps its way along over the next few months and years of its life cycle, kind of bounce off of there and maybe go back down and visit, and this lower level gets higher priced as we go along. So we could see something like that, or we could see price kind of work its way up and then kind of maybe create a new channel up in this area. So we'll just have to wait and see ultimately what happens. And again, it's all speculation. We really don't know what, other than what you do need in order for price to continue to the next level, which is more capital in the space. So ultimately, that's really what you need, is you need more capital into the space. Right now, we know what's going on in general with the cryptocurrency space is a lot of people have lost interest in it because price is kind of stagnant right now. So I know Bitcoin searches are way down. The number of wallets for small holders is up. People that hold 1 Bitcoin or less, that's been on the increase, but generally that increases into bull markets and peaks. You have the Bitcoin conference coming up this week and this weekend, and we know what happens there. Last year, it was right in this time frame in June, July, when the conference hit, had a big drop in price. There are some announcements. A lot of speculation that Apple has bought Bitcoin and put it on their balance sheet. A lot of speculation that Apple is partnering with Stripe. So we'll just have to wait and see what those rumors look like and whether or not they're true. And as we go through the rest of the day here today, waiting for the close, we'll have to see where Bitcoin ultimately closes this evening to kind of get further confirmation of continuation of the trend and testing these upper ranges again, or if Bitcoin's going to try to unwind this move that it's been on here the last few days, and the altcoins as well. If we look at Bitcoin dominance, which is a little bit up today, and altcoins, the total 2 is a little bit down for the day. So altcoins have been struggling a little bit today, while Bitcoin has been selling off a little bit as well. So the close is key. Ideally, you want Bitcoin to close back up above 46.7 up in this area here. If Bitcoin closes down below, and again, let's take a look at that 200-day moving average. So Bitcoin has not gotten above it. So if it closes anywhere below the 200-day moving average, it could kind of wick around in this area for a little while till we see what kind of news comes out of the conference, and whether or not we will get a bounce on some good news. If Apple did buy Bitcoin, we'll see the price explode. If there is some sort of a serious partnership with Strike that makes a meaningful difference other than people just being able to buy and sell Bitcoin through Apple Pay, that's not a huge deal, but may get a little bounce on that, or it might just be that we saw the bounce going into the conference and then it's going to sell off on the news and just kind of continue its journey in this range here. So these are the things that we're looking at. No other real big news out there right now. Every day is one step forward for the space. More and more attention, capital, talent, activity is coming to crypto and is coming to the space. So the space is definitely evolving, and the assets are evolving, and more institutions are getting interested. There's a lot of institutions that will be meeting at the Bitcoin conference. One of the days, I think it's the first day, is institutions only. And they'll be talking a lot about regulation, a lot about setting up trading desks, and trying to get clarification around the regulatory environment with compliance, ESG, all of these things that corporations need in order to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet and to create opportunities for their clients to invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So we'll keep an eye on those things, and I will see you on the next video.